everybody, welcome back. Happy Thursday. For those of you that are new, my name is Susan. I am a freelance fiction editor specializing in science fiction, fantasy, and romance. Last week, I talked about what a freelance editor looks for in an author as they start to go into that editorial relationship. This week, I thought it'd be helpful to talk about what an editor looks for when they're on the traditional publishing side of things versus the freelance side of things. Now, there is some crossover. Obviously, there's always some things that editors are looking for, like a great hook, but there are some different considerations as well, because editors on the traditional side of things are going to be partners with the author through the entire publishing process. So it's not just going to be through editorial, through helping them get their manuscript into shape, everything like that, but beyond that as well as they head towards publication. So there are more considerations on their end as far as the business side of things also. As always, I am speaking from personal experience here. I am not speaking for every editor out there. I'm sure every editor has a different list of what they consider and think about as they look at each submission or each author that comes across their desk. But I thought this list might be helpful to you as an author for you to keep in mind as you're working with your agent, as you start to go out on pitches, everything like that, to keep in mind what they might be looking for and how you can best position yourself for success. First and foremost, this is the same as freelance. As I mentioned earlier, every editor out there that I know is looking for a book with a phenomenal hook, a book that they can connect with. But the difference here between traditional side and freelance side is they are also looking for a hook that they know that they can sell. So it's not just about connecting with the story and knowing that you can edit it well and that you'll be able to make the book better, but also having the confidence that you will be able to sell the book as well. So for example, I as a freelance editor can take on a number of clients that have billionaire romance stories or chosen one fantasy stories and everything like that. I love all of those books and I can edit all of them and make them better and stronger and send them on their way, whether it's self-publishing or traditional publishing, the route that they want to go. An editor in traditional publishing is going to be looking one step past that. So yes, you've written a chosen one fantasy or a billionaire or rock star romance, but what is the hook? What makes that different? So, all of these books are selling phenomenally well. Chosen ones are really popular in the market, which right now not as much, but for argument's sake, we're going to say that's still the creme de la creme in fantasy. You want to have a chosen one story, but what makes yours different? Why is your chosen one story different than what else is out there? Because this editor, this traditional side editor, has to go to their marketing team, their sales team, everything like that, and tell them why they think this is going to work so well in the market and answer a need. An editor in a publishing company is the author's voice. They are their advocate. So you want somebody that's going to be excited, that feels connected with your book, that understands the hook and really sees a vision for it, not only in how the book can be better editorially, but also how they can sell it in the market, who's going to buy it, and how this is going to work. So the best way to prepare yourself for this is not only have a great hook, work with your agent to make sure you've honed this the best it can be, but also do a lot of market research as well. So when you're pitching to agents or when you're having your agents pitch to editors, you can say, hey, I know that, Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet Barbarian sci-fi romance series is insanely popular right now. I have a sci-fi romance that I think will complement that because it's like this, but with this hook, and here's why. And that's where the editor is going to see that potential, not only in a trope or genre that they love, but also in how it can fit the market and how it can help them sell that, not only in-house to their sales and marketing teams, but also how then those teams can sell it to Barnes & Noble, Amazon, anywhere else across the board. The second thing an editor looks for is an author with a publishing plan. So do you have several books? Do you have a series? Anything like that? So if you've already gotten in the door, the editor loves your hook, your pitch, everything like that, they can see the way that would work. They then want to look at, okay, what's next? They don't generally want to sign you for just one because they're going to put a lot of effort and, to be frank, money into setting up this book. So then they want to know, okay, well, is book 2 going to be along the same lines? Is it a connected series? How can they build this to really build not only this series, but your career overall, as well as obviously make money as a publisher to keep this forward momentum? So many times it's great to have an idea of where you want to go next next past this one idea that you have that you're pitching? Again, do you see it as a series? Is there a number of standalones that you'd like to sell to this publisher? Everything like that. There's no guarantee how many books they're going to want to buy, but being able to show them that you've thought past the immediate is really important, because then they're going to be able to see that as well and pitch that internally also. Third thing that an editor looks for is an author that is willing to work with them and listen. So this is very much along the lines of what I talked about freelance-wise, which is obviously you're going to go through rounds of edits. Yes, more rounds of edits. Even after you've gone through rounds with your agent, most likely your editor is also going to have edits. So they definitely want somebody that's open to still different ideas and different ways of changing things to make sure it's going to be the strongest it can be when it hits the market. In traditional publishing, this then takes it one step further, because the editor is going to be your connection between your marketing and publicity teams, as well as your sales team, everything else like that. The editor is still looking for somebody that is going to listen and work with them on those levels as well. Not only willingness to do various things, as far as if they are wanting to ask you to work with them on blog posts, social media, things like that, but also for their recommendation and how they want to move forward on any campaigns. Many authors, when they go into traditional publishing, they have sort of this solid idea of what it means, whether it's because of what they've seen online, whether it's because they have a friend that has done this and so they saw what they went through. Maybe they were sent out on an author tour, or maybe they had an ad in Entertainment Weekly, or maybe they had a booth at a convention, anything like that. All of those things can be great tools for helping a book get out there, get noticed, and get into readers' hands. But many of those things can also be extremely expensive, and that can actually sometimes harm a book more than it can help it. So, authors may come in really demanding or expecting certain things, certain ads, certain booths, things like that, where if they would really have that open dialogue with the marketing and sales team where they say, yes, we understand this, but if you were to do these 10 things instead, you would actually end up probably coordinating all those things to end up with a better result than this one very expensive ad that may or may not work. So it's something where you want to certainly advocate for yourself as an author if you have ideas on what can make your book work well, but you also want to make sure you are able to listen and take that feedback from these experts that you have trusted your book to. The whole reason you decided to go traditional publishing instead of self-publishing, I'm assuming, is because you knew that you would have these experts behind you that have done this before, that have done a phenomenal job in getting books out there, making them bestsellers, and being able to really launch authors' careers. Now, that's not to say they are perfect in any way, shape, or form, but they do have that expertise. So you want to make sure you're willing to take that expertise and listen, or at least discuss it with your agent. The fourth thing that editors look for is an author with a good agent. An agent can really help or sometimes harm your chances as an author when signing with an editor. As an author, you want to look for an agent that has a good reputation with the authors that they have currently, that they're able to support and help flourish in their publishing journey, but also have a good reputation with the publishers as well. Somebody that can do both is pure gold. The goal for everyone involved is to have the book sell. The book sell like crazy, like hotcakes. But publishing is still a business as well. So balancing that business need also with your business need, your author needs, is an important line to keep in mind as they're working. When editors run into agents that may have a good book but always come to them with unreasonable demands, or are really pushy, or are too hard to work with, many times that can harm your chances. They may like your book but not love it, and don't want to run the risk of having to work with that agent for years, yes, years, as they go, because you may sign a 1, 2, or 3 or more book deal, as well as obviously it can take a number of years for books in traditional publishing to come out. So you are agreeing in a sense for a very lengthy relationship, not only with the author and the editor, but also the agent as well. So it's an important component that you don't want to leave out as you're considering not only how you're positioning yourself, but who you are working with. As I said, everybody involved wants you to succeed, but not everybody does it in the same way, and it can cause conflict. So it's something to consider. The fifth thing they look for is an author with a really good platform. And this can come in a variety of ways. So whether it's you have a great social media following, whether it's you have a background in your niche, so maybe you're writing a cookbook and you've been a chef for 30 years or something like that, or maybe it's just as simple as you are a debut. A debut author is a beautiful thing to publishers and sales teams because there is no author history. They can position you new in the market however they need you to be, and there's all this potential. So it is a blank page, actually, for a publishing pun there. You are a blank page, and that is some of the sales and marketing and editorials team favorite thing to work with. So there are a variety of ways to position yourself to have a good platform that editors will want to interact with and sign onto their list. The biggest reason I bring this up for you to keep in mind as you're figuring out which direction you want to go, how you want to go into traditional publishing, everything like that, is because while self-publishing and traditional publishing are both phenomenal ways to get published and there are pros and cons to each, there is in some ways a certain order you may want to consider going in. If you traditionally publish, like I said, having it be a debut, having your author history be a blank slate is a great thing because they can build your author brand starting from scratch. So that's great. When it gets a bit more complicated is maybe when you decided to self-publish first and then go the traditional route. Again, this is still something you can do. There are some great authors out there that started in self-publishing, did phenomenally well, and have moved to be usually hybrid. They don't just go traditional after that point because they know they can do it so well on their own in self-publishing, but they usually have a little bit of both. They have some in traditional publishing, they have some in self-publishing, and it's a really great way to move forward for your publishing journey to have a variety of options. But if you self-publish and it really doesn't go anywhere, you don't have many sales, or maybe you get a ton of bad reviews, everything like that, generally the publisher and or the agent are going to want to know that ahead of time. And even if you say, hey, I'm willing to have a pseudonym so that we can start as a debut, everything like that, that self-publishing experience, that author history, that backlist is still going to follow you with that because they're still going to look at that as, well, did this happen just because you weren't quite sure what you were doing and self-publishing isn't your thing, or is it maybe because your writing isn't there yet and you're not ready to move forward with the publishing process, or a variety of other reasons why books may not work in the self-publishing sphere. So it can be something that's an added consideration and possibly an added weight to moving into traditional publishing. So it is something to consider if you do think you're going to want to go the traditional publishing route at some point. Hopefully this has been helpful as you start to reach out to agents and possibly go that traditional publishing route, keeping that in mind, setting yourself up to put your best foot forward and get the attention of editors and agents across the board. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below. It really helps the channel. And until next week, keep writing.